Good Monday afternoon, perhaps early evening. Hi, this is Stan Houston. The program is Interesting Ideas, and we're back after a long weekend. And we'd like to talk a little bit today about the blame game or the brain game. And perhaps that might be something that would be helpful to us in this day and age. Blame game or the brain game. And then we talked about your mastery of business and audience development last week. And we're going to continue to talk a little bit about how you begin to develop an audience. And that might be to get your MSE, all kinds of degrees. No, they aren't degrees at all. They're just actually attitudes, aspirations, and a touch of new learning. Hey, that's a little bit for today. It's more than enough for a Monday. The program begins right now. Over the weekend, a number of us, of course, we are in the midst here in the United States of some summer heat. And of course, a number of people say, well, the climate is changing. Well, it's always changing. This is a hot summer. And sometimes we don't have a very hot summer. Sometimes we have a cool summer. We're having a hot one. By the way, from Arizona, where I lived for many years and still have friends in business there, they said, yes, it's a hot summer, but the interesting thing about that is we really had a cool spring and a hot summer. Well, maybe that evens out, or maybe that says something about all of the hysteria that we often have about something we cannot really control. The weather, the climate. As someone finally admitted, that if you would spend $50 trillion on all of the climate enhancement, lower it in terms of carbon neutrality, how much temperature would go down. And it is not only 1 degree, it is 0.000001, something like that, a degree. So that's again one of the things that we blame. Obviously our situation is blamed on the climate deal, and of course as a result then we have to do something about that. And if you look at much of our life in politics today, it is the blame game. Part of the attempt to get Donald Trump is to blame him for a variety of things so that he won't be able to run for president, or that he will go to jail. And we're spending many millions of dollars to blame Donald Trump on some activities in which we're not sure there's really a victim involved, but certainly some things that they want to do. And if you think about it, so much of our present life is, in effect, trying to pin the blame. Pin the tail on the donkey. We're trying to find the donkey, find the ass, that we can blame things for. So I just wanted you to think about that, because what I'd like to talk a little bit about this week is, and there are a number of things, just what we should do to be not blameless, but to blame less. Okay? Not to be blameless, but to blame less. One's, I guess, is an adjective, and one tends to be a verb or an adverb. All right? Here we go. Now, what I want us to think about is, in effect, what happens to us when we do something significant. Now, I went and saw the film Oppenheimer. And of course, this week, the movie industry, this weekend was to be their, this week and this weekend was to be their big save the industry deal. If we can put out Barbie At the same time, we put out Oppenheimer, these two we hope to be smash hits. At the same time, in the middle of the summer, that'll hopefully begin to save the industry. And of course, at the same time, though, they're going through a terrible split because of a strike. And the strike is because people are saying they're going to blame artificial intelligence for what they believe will be their loss of jobs. So they have to do something because they're blaming the possibility of artificial intelligence for what will be their loss of jobs. So what they have to do is try to put their brakes on artificial intelligence, and then things will be better, or they will be okay. Again, I hope you see where my crazy mind is going, is that perhaps some of the things we need to do is to see, are there different games we need to play? And perhaps they're not games at all. Perhaps there's something we should think differently about. I went and saw the Oppenheimer film, and of course, there was actually, when I went, was a small crowd. However, there were quite a few people at the theater because they were there for Barbie, which is a whole different film indeed. But one of the things, again, in the Oppenheimer film, which was the story of a remarkable accomplishment. It really was. I've read as a historian a good deal about all that went in to the Manhattan Project, and it actually might be a little more helpful if you want to go see it, to do a little bit of reading about the story or about the history before you go to see the film, because that will be very helpful to you. Now, it was a remarkable brain accomplishment. The brightest and the best and the brainiest were brought together on a desert in Los Alamos, kind of a made-up place in New Mexico. But in California, they were doing work in Berkeley, in Tennessee at Oak Ridge, and then in Chicago at the University of Chicago. And all of those things were going to contribute to the fact that hopefully they could then take and build an atomic bomb, and hopefully do so before the Germans did, because they were working on the same deal. And hopefully we, the Americans, we would be first, and then we could use it on them before they could use it on us. And it's quite a story. And the story of Robert Oppenheimer and what he accomplished in those 2 years is incredible. And it's to be commended and applauded, though obviously he had many critics. But then what happened is, and this is why it is oftentimes said the triumph and tragedy of Robert Oppenheimer, is that in the postscript to that experiment and into that story, he was blamed for some things that may or may not have been relevant to what he was, but he suffered a great humiliation and was blamed for a number of things in his life. And so he died, perhaps an unhappy man, even after that incredible accomplishment. Life is difficult, life is tough, life is rough. So that is something you may want to see. But here we go. In effect, what we need to understand, at least I need to understand, is that there is a great possibility that part of our efforts should be, and here we go, to how can we have better brains. Not necessarily be smarter, but have better brains. I'm adopting a little bit as a mentor, a gentleman who is maybe familiar to some of you, called Daniel Amen. And he's been around for some time, and I've mentioned him before. But one of the books that I'm going to give serious attention to is one he wrote a number of years ago, and it simply says, Change Your Brain change your body. And of course, my interest is to change my body because I know that I need to lose some weight that I put on as a result of the stress and COVID and pandemic and sloppy eating of the last few years. I need to do that. I need to change my body. And of course, it's an old body, and it has a number of broken parts in it, probably, or ones that don't work quite as fast or quite as well. So how can I have a healthier and better body? Well, his answer is, don't worry about your body until you do some brain work. And so his idea is, learn how to help your brain continue to grow. And that will be one of the better ways of taking care of your body. And along with that, then my wife and I watched, it was quite sad, a Netflix film called Still Alice. And it was the story, a story based on a true story of a woman who had an incredible, accomplished life and career, and then is diagnosed, perhaps because of some genetic condition, and she's told that she's first stage, early stage Alzheimer's. And what she and her family try to do, and of course there is no cure, what can you do to maybe slow it down? Could you even get it to regress? And of course, then thinking back, is there anything we could have done if we would have known about this possibility that could have maybe, made some changes in what our life would be? So that's just what I'd like to leave you with on this Monday. I would suggest, think about the film Oppenheimer and then talk about it with somebody. I would suggest that you think about, hey, who am I blaming for the mess? Who is to blame and who is not to blame? Does it matter? Does it matter? And what am I doing every day to try and grow my brain? Now, one of the things I'm seeking to do, and obviously this thing called a podcast is part of that, is I have work to do. Much of it is very ordinary work to do to service people and help them. But what can I do every day to perhaps create something? Actually create something. What can I do that is creative today? I'm Stan Houston. Just a few minutes of interesting ideas. Thank you for your listening. Take a 30-second break while I get a drink of water, and then allow me the privilege of doing a little bit of a pitch. All right? Thank you. Interesting Ideas is the flagship program of What It Takes Radio. The What It Takes Radio Company. We are a podcasting and publishing company. And here's the deal. You may not do a podcast, but you've got to learn why they are important. And you're going to have to learn how to grow an audience. That's vital. Your business will depend on the growth of your audience and perhaps on the growth of your brain, so you can be more creative about, in effect, growing your business audience. And so learning how to master self-expression, how to think more creatively, and perhaps to be exposed to new ideas, those are the things we seek to offer. So if we can be helpful to you, we have just put out a little audio video program. Remember, we live now in an audio visual entertainment, experience economy, that's the marketplace, on how to turn your book into a podcast, and even more fun, how to do a podcast and turn it into a book. And if you'd like to get something like that, please reach out to me. Again, here we go, stanhouston@gmail.com, stanhouston@gmail.com. Take care of your brain. That is certainly one thing of all the organs in transplant world, they haven't figured that one out yet. And I'm pretty sure they won't. Even artificial intelligence is no match for the wonderful thing that God gave us, and that is the human consciousness, the human spirit, the spirit world, the nature of reality, and that little organ, soft organ, sitting in top of your head, which could be easily damaged, called the brain. Grow your brain and care for it, and it'll help take care of your body. Let's see where that goes. Best and blessings. Until next time, bye for now.